Hi everyone, and welcome to this new video about FakeXrmEasy and how can we use FakeXrm to unit test both Azure Functions as well as plugins using the new pipeline simulation capability. So how can we basically make Azure Functions trigger the backend logic like plugins from those of Azure Functions? And that's a really cool feature because from client code, we will be able to step through the plugin code before deploying the Azure function, and we can unit test that logic locally. So it's really a time saver, and time saver means saving money as well. So okay, how can we get started with it? So let me open up this solution, and the key aspect of being able to do this is how you structure the project in source control. So if you go to the samples FakeXrmEasy to github.com/dynamics value/FakeXrmEasy samples repo, you have the source code for this demo and you can play with it. But to just let me highlight the project structure, which is basically around. So what we have in this solution, the FakeXrmEasy samples, what we have is basically the source code we want to test, and we have a very simple Azure function that will create a contact against the database. We have a plugin that once that contact is created, will create a follow-up activity against that contact. And so, first of all, we would basically write the unit test for the plugin, then write the unit test for the Azure function. And then if we wanted to, simulate that plugin firing from the Azure function, we could also do that, which is the pipeline simulation feature. So, before being able to do that, we need to structure the project in this way. And so the key element is basically that we have put the follow-up plugin code in a shared project, so that this shared project, the plugin code, can be used both from the client project and from the server-side project, which is the project where you have all the other plugins. And this works as long as you have, a single repository. There are other options as well. If you had, in probably large enterprise projects, you will have multiple repositories. So rather than using a shared project, you can put that logic into, for example, a Git submodule, or you can put the plugin code into a source NuGet package that is then pushed into your private NuGet feed, and then consume that from any Azure function project you might have, for example. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to use a shared project. So how does this work? Pretty simple. We have this follow-up plugin in this shared project. Then we have a unit test project for plugins only. So this is the .NET Framework project that is using FakeXrm, and behind the scenes is using the Microsoft.cm SDK.core assemblies, right? From the Azure Function side of things, we have the My Azure Function tests, and this one has a dependency to FakeXrm as well, but behind the scenes is using the let me expand this a little bit. The database client. How this is possible? It's because the database client basically also implements the I plugin, and so we are able to trigger plugins from a client project, although this is not how this would work in production, because the plugin will run on server side. But from the point of view of simulating that code running, we can use that, and eventually the plugin code will be migrated across .NET Core. So yeah, it would be a closer example to the actual production. So we have basically the Azure function test, the unit test project with the Azure function, and the main difference is that the unit test project for Azure Functions is using version 3 of FakeXrm 3.2, as you can see. Whereas in the unit test project for plugins, we have FakeXrm using version. Let me expand not the references, but the packages. Well, let me actually show you the packages. Using just 2.3 or basically version 2. So for version 2, for unit testing server-side code like plugins, you would use version 2 of FakeXrm. For unit testing client code like Azure Functions, you would use version 3. Okay, and then for example, this is a simple Azure function that will create a contact, and then it makes sure that when this function is executed, that we query the state of the memory database after the execution, and then we'll have a contact created with first name and an email address populated. That's if we wanted to do unit test the Azure function only. But what happens basically if we wanted to trigger that other plugin, the follow-up plugin that will run whenever that contact is created? So then we have these other examples as well in here, which is create contact with pipeline simulation. And what this one is, and let me actually start debugging this one because it's really cool. If I run this unit test, so right now and then this is the thing that's actually very cool. I'm starting to debug the Azure function, but if I put a breakpoint into the plugin, like the follow-up plugin, this is a breakpoint for that I put into the plugin. If I continue to debug the Azure function, eventually I'm able to step into the plugin code, and I could keep debugging it, and so on. I mean, this is pretty cool because I'm able to debug, trigger server-side logic from the Azure function, and I can debug that code locally. Before deploying the Azure function, before deploying the plugin. I mean, it's pretty cool. So feel free to check out the samples in this repository, so you can play with it for free. If you have any questions, let me know. Also, please, if you look at the link at the top, you will not just get notifications from videos, but also for whenever there is a new release or any documentation, any kind of important updates that you might want to be aware of. Please subscribe. Okay, see you in the next video.